Hello everybody and welcome to Metal Slug 6 for the SEGA Atomic Wave arcade board. Yes,
And Knuckles.
the reason this one has never been re-released since 2000, I think, 5, I think that the anthology came out, 2005 I think, is because this game actually was made not for the Neo Geo, but instead for the SEGA Atomic Wave. What is the SEGA Atomic Wave? Basically, it's an arcade Dreamcast version of the Dreamcast, basically, for those who don't know.
And yeah, like they said in the previous game, you can also potentially play this as the Ikari Warriors or Alto Jones and Clark Steel.
Yeah, basically, Metal Slug 6 is exactly what you'd expect after playing all the previous 5 games. I don't think I need to explain this any further.
Okay. I remember correctly saying that 5 is the last chronological, so let me check where this fits in the timeline in the meantime. Go on.
The primary thing about this game is that since it was released on those circumstances, the only official way of playing it nowadays is by hunting down a PS2, a PSP, or a Wii and just playing it via the Metal Slug Anthology collection. However, fortunately, fans took matters into their own hands and they ported the original arcade ROM and turned it into a Dreamcast ISO. Basically, because remember, the Atomic Wave board is basically just a Dreamcast on an arcade cabinet, so it's a very easy process to take an Atomic Wave arcade game and turn it into a Dreamcast ISO. So I'm playing the game on Redream, the best Dreamcast emulator.
According to what Wikipedia tells me, Pedro, this game was also released just in Europe in 2009 as part of a Metal Slug collection for PC. I don't know the quality of that.
Oh, was it? I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, me neither. And in 2015, for I guess the PS2 version, probably an anthology version, just for the Japanese PlayStation Network for PS3. In 2015, like what, 2 years after the launch of the PS4.
That's weird. Well, the version I'm playing is of course the original arcade version as it was made. So. And yeah, one thing you'll notice from Metal Slug 6 is, of course, those little red bars in the bottom left corner. The more damage you create, the more those bars are up. And when it's on max, basically you just you do a maximum damage. So fortunately, you don't have to attack the weak point for massive damage. You just attack for massive damage.
Yeah, they try to spice up a bit the formula to make things a bit more engaging and different. So it's pretty cool.
It's not really like a game cheat or anything. You can pretty much ignore that meter and just play as you usually do. It still boils down to the exact same formula at the end of the day. There you go. And yes, since this is on a more powerful arcade hardware, it has significantly less slowdown compared to the Neo Geo ones.
And the sprite quality is polished too.
Yep. After this, we're going to do Metal Slug XX, aka Metal Slug 7, and that game was actually the first Metal Slug game to be made for more modern hardware. It wasn't made for arcades to begin with, unlike the first 6. So that one was flawlessly and everything.
Okay, never mind that. My mistake. Metal Slug 7, or XX, like you just mentioned, is the last technically in the timeline when it comes to the mainline series. This one fits in chronology between 3 and 4, actually.
Interesting.
Again, like
it's interesting because didn't all the previous 5 games just progressively follow up one after the other?
Yes, ideally yes.
Yeah, is so it is weird that now all of a sudden in the 6th game they decide to make a game that takes place in between 2 and 3 for some reason.
Some of the other minor games are also jammed in between. Like for example, Metal Slug 3D is stated to be between 5 and 7, apparently. I didn't even know it was actually part of the time. I thought it was like a sort of a slight remake. And apparently Metal Slug Advance is actually the one that is actually the last technology.
Interesting. Alright, Theo, so why don't you tell us about what's the specific story of this game?
Let me get there in the meantime. Also, yes, even again, the boss music is still great.
Well, yeah, if it's Metal Slug at this point, this is just business as usual.
There we go. This is actually taken from the Metal Slug Anthology manual. Farewell to Arms. It was also supposed to have finished with that final battle. Morden's third attempt at world conquest was over, but his whereabouts still remain unknown. But even with the remnants of Morden's army neutralized, our hero's request for discharge from the service were still refused. For a brief moment there was peace, but the frequent chatter of late, intercepted by expanded and consolidated division of intel, suggests this peace will not last long. Recent intel includes testimonials from people who have seen UFOs, aliens, and giant creatures. Fortunately, there have been no reports of damage or injury, but one can't help but feeling that the Mars people, the guys we've seen in 2 and 3, or maybe even more than are behind all of this, and fire intelligence officers are quite conclusive proof. A group of resembling Morden's army hid themselves in a mountainous region and were gathering weapons and building installations. Yet there was still doubt General Morden's army was nowhere to be seen. The objectives of the group were unclear then, whether this group was in fact Morden's army remained inconclusive. Although it was concluded that this could not be a military group to any standards of the HQ, particularly sensitive to anything considered Morden, however, quickly summoned the usual four, Marco and Tarma from PF Squad and Arian Pio from Sparrows. Only moments away from development, no one attempted to voice their opinions. They stood face to face with two new but yet somehow familiar faces ready to join their team. Nobody don't trust the four of you, the commander spoke, but more from the top it takes that you'll be working with these two private contractors with operations. Ralph Jones again and Clark Steele, the Ikari Warriors. With a newly furnished weapon in hand, these new team begin their parachute drop into hell. This is the last time. Not really.
Sure.
How many games?
It's
what games were there after this?
At the very least one when it comes to the mainline games, and they did still do all the speed up. We're even getting one again.
It's the last kiss to her every time.
It's the last movie that Hayao Miyazaki does. We swear.
This is my last movie for reals this time, guys.
Yeah, now please, you don't fucking hate animation anymore.
We'll believe it when we actually see it happen, I guess.
Yeah. No, trust me, Shiroi. Like, basically, Shiroi, the last time people actually believed that he would be making his armor was when he made The Wind Rises, because The Wind Rises was definitely a movie that felt like a career capper for him, because it was just one of those.
It was 2013.
Because that movie, it was probably like, if there ever was of all the passion projects he's made, that's probably the most biggest passion project he's ever made, because it's literally a big biopic love letter to the greatest airplane designer in Japan history. So I cannot even think of a more passionate project for Hayao Miyazaki than that one. So yeah, that one definitely felt like, okay, this feels like definitely something that he could possibly end his career. But then, of course, now eventually he announced that he would be making another one. So at this point, nobody will use him.
It's like when people make a fuss about leaving social media or whatever. Like when people make a fuss about something, they're probably gonna come.
Sure.
That's what he's the equivalent of.
Sure. I think South Park put it best in season 20. People don't actually leave social media. They post long rants on social media about how they're leaving social media. So.
That is very true, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, what time are you guys at?
That would be 8:35.
Alright, yep, it's fine. Carry on.
No, that's basically it, really. It started with, if I remember correctly, the first time he did that was with Princess Mononoke. I think it was with Princess Mononoke that he started saying how this might be his last film, and of course he made
He's been doing this for years.
Oh yeah, sure. No, trust me. Miyazaki is he's kind of he has a complicated personality, Shiroi. Very complicated.
Okay, that I already knew.
Yeah, that me and Pedro recently, well, it's not like we haven't done it before, but especially more recently, we've been taking the mickey out of, like I've made a new running gag even. Miyazaki grumbling every time he has to do something because he hates animation. Yeah,
basically. But this, alright, first boss. So this is not okay. Much like we've had before, this is a vehicle boss battle war. But okay, the idea is just you shoot the big cannon until it explodes. That's basically it. It's still
looking pretty cool, actually.
Oh yeah, it's a cool set piece. It's not the best one in the game, but it's cool for what it is. Yeah, basically. No, that's what it boils down. Now, basically, I was showing Dwibs the anime that Takahata made before Anne of Green Gables, the Heidi one. And Hayao Miyazaki did the backgrounds for that one too.
Is that the one where that stupid goat keeps trying to jump off the cliff?
Yes.
I actually did grow up with that. It's very beloved in my country. Folks, it's not over.
Yep, it's beloved in mine. It's beloved in mine too.
I think in most of Europe, of course, probably.
Well, it's based on it's based on an European novel, so that would make sense.
Even took a little look at how the German version of the show had things, and well, it's easy to tell that the guy who did the music for that version used to do music for
porn movies.
raunchy things.
Yeah.
I had a condensed version of the novel as a child. I don't really remember it all that much.
Well, you can. As always. Sorry. You can.
I think this is important. There's General Morden with the
Morden, exactly Morden.
And with the
Morden, didn't you learn? Sorry, go on.
Now a new alien race shows up but scares shit about the Martians. Jesus!
What the? They're just having lunch.
Which means that once again, Morden has to begrudgingly team up with us to save the Martians.
So yeah, let's flash back into what happened.
I was gonna say, Shiro, yeah.
They were about to actually fish back the mastermind from her game.
How condensed was it, Shiro? Heidi is an orphan. She goes to live with her not uncle. The uncle doesn't like it, except he does later on. And they live happily ever after until Heidi.
Remember, his uncle is actually the nickname the village gave him. He's actually her grandpa.
Yeah, that's why I said it's not uncle.
Not uncle. Okay.
Honestly, pretty much, because these books were designed for small children to read.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of people like to take. Remember, Shiro, it's kind of like that animated version of Van Green that you and I watched, Shiro. Like a lot of times, because if they actually show the novels for how they actually are, a lot of people probably would say that they're not. Okay, maybe Anne. But I remember there's one of the last narrative arc of the book, and by extension Takahata's anime, is basically that basically it involves a girl who has suffered an accident and as a result is in a wheelchair, and she's in the process of recovery, basically like recovery to be able to walk again and all that stuff. I don't know the exact terms, but
paralyzed, I guess.
Yeah, something along those lines. And Heidi is the one that helps her, give her the motivation to walk again and all that stuff. Again, in true Takahata fashion, it's treated with all the respect in the world. So again, that's how the novel was. I mean, Takahata pretty much, again, just like with Anne, Takahata pretty much sticks to the novel to a T, basically. So it doesn't really.
Whereas what I had, because it wasn't just Heidi, I don't really remember the other books, because I think I read that one the most, but it was basically a collection of condensed novels that were designed for little children to be able to easily digest.
Yeah, basically. Nowadays, I just recommend watching the Takahata anime. It's all on YouTube, so you can just watch. Unfortunately, the most interesting thing that me and Dwibs discovered recently, Shiro, turns out, Shiro, the same team that did the English dub of Anne also did a dub of that anime. Unfortunately, apparently that dub did not survive. It's lost. Apparently it's been lost, which is a shame because I would totally trust that team with a dub for that anime too. But unfortunately, we had to do with Japanese with subtitles, sadly.
For a while, it was actually Nintendo actually bothered to release it on that feature that they had for the 3DS, the Nintendo Anime Channel, which is sadly now discontinued, but they had it for a while. Just because apparently someone who did work on the Mario games apparently worked on it. So
in the meantime, right now we're playing as one of the new characters too. Why don't you talk about
one of the Ikari Warriors? Ikari Warriors was a game that got released also in arcade and on the NES. If you're a fan of Baby EGN, it's one of his most famous episodes because it brings up the composer of his theme as a guest player for that. It plays very differently from Oh Jesus Christ! It plays very differently from Metal Slug. But again, starting with this game, Ralph and Clark has been integrated in this, and according to King of Fighters, that's plenty enough for their inclusion to be counting as Metal Slug representation, which is bullshit. I'm sorry, I want to still see either Marco or one of these other four, the other three associates that he usually shoots people with. Sure, we actually got a new cool stage of Metal Slug in the new King of Fighters, but again, still no major character. There have been some in the past, Theo has been playable, actually, even one of the Martians at some point, but no, they're still severely missing, and considering how King of Fighters acts as basically the Smash Bros of SNK, even to the point where it included stuff like one Pachinko mascot that they had only in Japan, just because they could, they could have just bothered to, go the extra mile, but again, it's still a rank that I've been saying since the first game anyway. It's still cool that they included the Ikari Warriors release. Also, for a creative naming, these new alien species, but remember, these are the people that scare shit, the Martians and everything, they are called just the Invaders. Nothing more.
But hey, we have double machine gun, so there's that.
Well, you got it replaced anyway.
Yeah.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, basically, I can do this all day.
You got a glitch and the game just keeps falling.
No.
Enemies.
No. It's see, it's meant to be like, it's basically a small little endurance round.
It has been a while since I played this. I forgot actually how much control the Horde has, or if they did change some stuff for the anthology version.
No. Okay. Granted, I have a.
Well, the wiki might say something. Let me check.
I mean, I get the feeling that the anthology version probably is about the same. I doubt that they changed anything at all. I mean, aside from removing the SEGA Corporation logo, they probably didn't really do much. Anyway, no, but yeah, like I said, basically, you can just watch the Takahata anime. That's because the interesting thing is that when it comes to English dubs, there actually is a remake. Believe it or not, a CG remake of Takahata's anime. Okay, I've seen it. It's fine. It's fun for what it is, but it's definitely toned down in comparison to the first, to the original. It doesn't have the same intense, like it tones down on the more intense dramatic scenes or the more mean scenes with the grandfather and all that stuff.
Also, I see we just had that very Sonic CD mini boss back there.
Yeah, basically.
But this one is another story.
Yes. I will destroy you.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Again, it's not just the fact that you get these new enemy types and even these new bosses, but also some new vehicles actually to fuck around with. You see in the first level with the fucking donkey that can attach to the portable cannon.
Yep. Well, don't you see, Theo? It's actually one of the many boys that got turned into a jackass in Pleasure Island. But,
of course.
Yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, okay, like I said, the 3D remake of that anime is fine, but it's definitely not compared to what they did. Basically, just they keep releasing that anime, and that's the one that got English dub and all that stuff. So unfortunately, it seems like Nippon Animation is just gonna keep re-releasing that one and just going to abandon the. Don't get me wrong, the Takahata anime got a proper Blu-ray release like Ann did. The problem is that it's just that you can tell that Nippon Animation wants the new remake to be the proper one that gets exposure. Yeah, so which is a shame because that anime didn't need a remake to begin with, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing. It does feel unnecessary.
It's completely unnecessary. Yeah.
Like it's not necessary to say, oh, the original one is so great it cannot be being replicated or anything. But more like with the type of story that you do and the fact that how the original is adapted, it's more like you don't really need that much more. Like they bother to do all their own work and everything. The animation quality is great. Just stick with that. Ooh, that's goofy. that
Captured the
gesture.
Wait, you
Indeed.
recaptured the prisoner and yet took no prisoners.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is it? What, did we recapture the prisoner but then kill him?
Maybe. Alright. And now
You're under arrest.
it's time for a battle on the big bridge.
This God, I forget the bridge that keeps getting destroyed in the X-Men movies.
Probably. That poor that poor construction company, they keep reconstructing this thing only for it to get broken the next day every time.
If it was the DC universe, I would say LexCorp would fix that, I guess.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the Lex Luthor supermarket to become a thing. Where is that? Well, remember that's a thing in the Death of Superman comic, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
how come this isn't a thing in the main series? I mean, come on, might as well. That should be fun.
It's kind of like the Thanos copter. It's like, why wouldn't you do that? It's too silly to
Why
ignore
not
it.
call it a supermarket?
Yeah, Luthor market.
Yeah, the supermarket, there's hypermarket, and then there's the supermarket.
All right, now time for a plane section.
Cool.
Very reminiscent of the plane levels from Mario for you. I'm sorry, Super Mario Land.
These basic kind of shooters on these kind of levels have been basically... I don't really know who was really the first to do it, but stuff like Gradius did popularize them properly.
It's always aliens. Like there's like an okay. Don't you see? You had a powerful alien race that overtook more than its forces, and now we have an even more powerful alien force that took over from the
I
previous
kind of like
aliens.
the fact that they did not rehash the Martians yet again, and they had a new threat at the very least. So
sure.
I'm fine with that. Again, it's still much more imaginative than anything but the fucking Syndicate of 4.
I guess they're thinking that they can't go back to just Morden because that would be that would just be like
Which is the plot of the next game.
a downgrade. Well, in that case, well, then again, I mean, the double.
Pace, to be fair, Pedro. More in a case of just waiting until some time has passed.
I guess. Well, Double X was, of course, made years later. So by that point, I guess they really wanted to properly, approve the nostalgia by bringing back the original villain.
It's kind of like the same sentiment that, say, the Sonic Colors had the fact that at that point, Eggman had a reputation of being upstaged by the Monster of the Week, so they wanted one where he was the final boss again.
Not just that, it also used the Wisps to become the an alien equivalent of the Flickies from the original games, where you even have to destroy a capsule at the end of the level and everything. What the heck is that? Thank you. Alright, so
You okay there?
let's see. Whoa, shit!
It's the giant enemy. It's not even a squid, it's like a sea snake.
I think.
Still a very cool boss. Again, thanks to the superior sprite quality, it allows also these great boss designs.
Oh crap.
Shit.
Yeah, this thing can be difficult because it just goes all over the place, and you can only hit it in the head, basically. So you have to be, there you go, and you can't put yourself on the rest of its body. Unfortunately, it can cause problems from that, as you'll see in a moment. Yeah, as you can see, I just found myself a good spot. Unfortunately, the developers fought ahead. And had it spin like that, just to hurt me.
This is a boss that's specifically designed to drain your quarters.
Clearly.
Again, arcade.
Clearly.
What was that we announced? Rocket launcher. Like, That's not how it was pronounced in the previous game.
He's in the 6th game. He's announced these weapons so many times that at this point he's just tired too.
Did we ever got credited for anyone for the voice clips? Let me see if we ever did.
I don't think the credits say who does the voice clips. It's probably just one of the developers.
If it is, at least for the first couple of games, it's still good English pronunciation, rather than stuff like, you know, the Avengers arcade game, okay, go! You know?
I love that one though. It's like, whatever evil is, the Avengers must face it. Alright, so yeah, this boss also takes quite a lot of hits. So, like Theo said, yeah, this thing is here to drain your quarters. God damn it. It's like...
I only have like 2 dollars left.
It's a good thing arcade emulation really is pretty much perfected by this point.
Then how else would you get back home? Yeah, the war?
Alright, and here's the other character from Ikari Warriors.
Again, they bother to actually differentiate slightly also the different styles. Let me mention quickly, just for fun reasons. Each character, even the original team, does actually, you know, have something unique about them, you know. So they actually did bother to actually differentiate them a bit. For example, Marco's default weapon actually has twice the ordinary strength, you know. In the case of Round Jones, his melee attack speed is double, that expensive weapon and grenades
there we go.
He can also use the special Vulcan Punch attack, melee strengths capable of damaging vehicles, again not to King of Fighters, can take 2 hits from most attack before losing a life, as Pedro did showcase before, and lastly is the only character able to damage vehicles and larger enemies with his melee attacks, while instead Clark Steele can perform a Super Argentine backbreaker against most non-vehicle enemies, and using an unavoidable target grants him temporary invincibility during the move.
Alright, and now we're about to introduce something new to the Metal Slug series. To be continued.
Oh.
So yeah, if you want to see how things end, play the hard mode, dipshit. Again, this is an arcade game, come on. The game is already hard enough as it is. Do you really need to
Like,
pull
well, fuck you too, I guess.
Seriously,
I think in the anthology you only play as the hard mode by default because I do not remember actually getting into this.
I'll just die.
I'm guessing the anthology just removed the easy mode for the sake of convenience. But since I'm playing the original version, it has the easy mode in it.
Yeah, but basically that's kind of pretty much it. Again, each character gets their own different kind of different abilities and properties, which is pretty cool actually, in trying to be differentiating them instead of just being risky of each other.
Look how smooth the game runs. Like seriously, in the previous 5, every time there was a shit ton of crap on screen, there was a very noticeable slowdown. But this, the more advanced hardware of this one definitely. Again, Double X is of course also perfect like this because Double X was already made. The original version of Metal Slug 7 was actually made for the Nintendo DS. However, much like Metal Slug 2 had a re-release called Metal Slug X, when they came time to make it. Oh, well, actually, that's true too. The re-release of 2 was just called X. Double X is 7.
7 is Double X.
Oh, that's what I'm saying though. 2 was turned into X, and 7 was turned into Double X. That's what I was saying. Yeah, when it came the time to re-release Metal Slug 7, like Theo just said, they re-released it on the Xbox 360 via Xbox Live Arcade and the PSP, and they re-released it as Metal Slug Double X. Double X has since been re-released again, this time on PS4, Xbox One, and I think PC too, but don't quote me on that. So nowadays you can just play Double X on the more modern consoles. Double X is actually 7, much like X is actually 2. I feel like it would have been easier if instead of calling it X and Double X, they would have called it 2X and 7X or something like that, just to make it easier for newcomers. Because imagine you're a newcomer to this series, right? And you get the Metal Slug, and you look at the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store or the eShop, and you figure out, okay, let's try to get into the Metal Slug games. Okay, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug X, Metal Slug 3, Metal Slug 4, and Metal Slug 5. Okay, so what is this X game? Because remember, if you take a look at the pages of the store that have Metal Slug X, it doesn't tell you that it's an enhanced version of 2. I just don't think it does. So newcomers are going to be confused. I don't know. Okay, is this like Metal Slug 6 or something? Is this like a prequel? What is this?
Yeah.
But fans don't know because if anything, it doesn't even make any sense for them to keep re-releasing the original version of Metal Slug 2, and yet they did for something like if anything, they might as well take the Metal Slug X, replace the X with 2, and just make that the proper version of 2, because there's no real reason for the original version of Metal Slug 2 to even exist anymore. So, but wait, I guess SNK really. I guess it's just one of those. I guess the re-releases of these games must sell really well, and then so that way they can just release 2 and X so that they can sell the same game twice, I guess.
And now we're drilling underground towards the base of the invaders. Apparently these are subterranean species.
Basically.
Yeah, apparently you cannot actually exit these vehicles.
No, you need, even if you die, you'll just respawn in the vehicle again, because you have to dig. Again, this reminds me of the underground level from Earthworm Jim 2. But in here, yeah, you definitely need the drill. So drill. Thing is, unlike the Sonic Colors drill, this drill is very slow.
Yep, methodical and everything.
Alright, there you go. See? Moving on.
Shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking bugs, and let's just try to plow through it.
I heard about these fucking bugs.
God, so many bugs. Fuck. Alright, here we go again. Let's just go.
Yeah, I think there you go. You do have weapons for it, but
You do.
yeah, again, of all the vehicles, this is probably one of the worst, just for how it's controlled and even how you control these semi-automatic turrets.
Oh, look at that. So what exactly are the Martians doing in these tubes, considering this is a...
The Martians.
I mean... Also,
That's another thing. These invaders are taking clearly inspiration from another game, which I will mention this when we actually get to the final boss. But these level designs should be also a clue for that.
And yeah, these
for conquering pretty aliens, they can actually start helping you.
It makes you wonder if there is a Metal Slug 8, will the invaders show up and maybe be overtaken by somebody else, and then maybe they'll become our allies too.
And remember, we ended the 5th game by fighting basically Satan, so...
Yeah. That's the thing about the escalation aspect of this series as well. Once you fight Satan, at that point, like, fighting more aliens feels a bit tame by comparison, because I mean, we fought Satan in the previous game. There's not really anything above that, unless of course you make us fight some other bigger devil. Like,
what about aliens?
It's it's like Binding of Isaac, where you had normal Satan and then Mega Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, ultimately.
Yeah. Oh, and here's another. Well, that is one big invader alien.
Jesus.
And yes, of course, there's a big eye. So shoot here, you dumb fuck, you dumb fuck. So.
Okay, I will say that this particular 3D rendering design of this particular stage is a bit wonky compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Remember, this was back when 3D graphics were brand fucking new. So my guess is the series wanted to experiment by still keeping the sprites for the characters, but trying out 3D backgrounds just to mix things up. I prefer the 2D backgrounds personally. I feel like the more I guess plasticky, if it can be applied, look of that doesn't really fit the hand-drawn look of the sprites. Fortunately, Double X didn't do this, and Double X went back to just making everything 2D.
Jesus, so many hit points. To be fair, this is also hard mode, so I guess that fits.
And even so, I mean, gotta drain all those quarters. Like, it really is a dick move. Or like I can understand doing that on a console game. Like when it's in a console game, fine. It's still annoying, but whatever. But when you have an easy and hard mode on an arcade game, and if you try the easy mode, the game basically just denies you the last few levels because saying, start all over on the hard mode, you fucking dipshit.
It's kind of like what happened with Ghosts and Goblins. Remember, the Ghosts and Goblins games are notorious. Yes, even the arcade version, not just the export, of basically soft blocking you out of the final level if you don't beat the 5th and 6th stage in a specific manner with specific items.
Can I have a time, please?
Go to 37:15.
Yeah, something along those lines.
What did I miss?
Not much.
Aliens.
Cool.
Can you counter in, Pedro? I might be just
37:20.
37:20. Okay. Well, wait 10 seconds. Robots and Clark goes down. Sorry, Ralph goes down. All right, and Quick. But go on, Shiri. Go on.
No, I just wanted to very quickly say, if there's one thing I really don't like about older games is the very hyper-specific ways you have to do something to get the best out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, please, I'm glad we kind of left that behind.
Oh no, sure. There's plenty of things in games that are best left behind.
It also really depends, Shiri, because on one end I can understand the frustration, on the other there's a sense of accomplishment if you manage to figure it out on your own without anyone telling you.
Well, the thing is, too, that would be.
I'm not talking about specifically the hard mode and easy mode, the lockout thing that we.
Oh, sure.
But specifically what Shiri said.
Oh, sure. What I understand. Well, it's the same argument that I talked about in our Beauty and the Beast's SNES playthrough too. Like, yes, that is a cool satisfaction about it. The thing is, you also have to give the player a genuine chance at figuring it out on his own because this game doesn't in any way hint that the easy mode is an incomplete version of the game. You don't know until you try it for yourself. Because arcade games don't have instructions manuals that tell you that shit. No. So basically, the player is basically cheated out of the full game just because he put it on easy mode and he didn't even know beforehand this was a thing. Because if you're gonna do this, at least tell the player that the easy mode is incomplete.
Yeah, some games do tell you beforehand. They give you a little paragraph next to the different.
Puyo.
And there you go. One of your team member was actually kidnapped before. In this case, is Eddie. And in this case, now they're being brainwashed by this parasite.
That's I don't. So an alien is putting his tentacle on Eri. Okay. Yeah, this is Japan. This is made by Japan, so yeah, I guess.
More like the umbilical cord connection from Death Stranding. Come on.
Sure. I guess that's what we're going with.
Yes, we're going with that.
Yeah, we are going with that.
Now frolic on the beach, please. what was I saying? Yeah, for example, Wolfenstein. Well, okay, Wolfenstein doesn't technically lock you out, if I recall correctly, out of the last level if you play in easy mode, but it will basically visualize the fact that you're doing it by remodeling PJ Blazkowicz's portrait with, with a napkin and a pacifier. So there is that.
It's one of those things where the developer.
God, I hate that shit.
Oh,
Anyway.
there you go. We saved Eri. Alright, it seems like she's okay, so let's use this tank.
Hey, we got even yeah, there you go, we got him out of it.
That
That didn't traumatize her at all.
Shira, she's been through 5 games before this one. At this point, this is just business as usual for her. And everybody.
Also, are we inside a creature right now?
Kind of.
Almost likely, like these invaders have these more organic tendrils.
This is very fleshy.
We're about to meet the final boss, and I will eventually watch the connection because it seems that SNK loved to reference. Yeah, there you go. I can tell you already with this because we're gonna see get even better look at that in a second. But this is basically Contra now.
Yeah,
like,
basically.
Not even joking. Not even anything the first one because the first one was still, getting the kicks out of it still by having aliens. Well, but later Contra, starting with the Super Nintendo, started to have this particular design, especially for the final boss. And I guess in this case, I think they was like, well, that's a cool design. Let's do something similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's one of those cases where there were a lot of old games, like it felt like the developers were making the game for themselves and not for an actual audience, because a good example of this is, of course, like James Rolfe has said various times, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, where the stupid tornado thing, there's nothing in the game that hints at that. There's nothing in the manual. It literally feels like the developers made this game for themselves and didn't even bother giving the player a genuine chance at figuring this shit out on his own,
But they saved, right?
Yeah, they saved.
Nah.
Even Trump music.
Alright, welcome to the final boss of Metal Slug 6. This big invader.
Ugly motherfucker.
I guess this is the queen. Basically, Shira, my guess.
That's a name. I'll check it in the meantime.
My guess is, Shira, this is basically the hive, and this is the queen of the invaders.
But yeah, even the music is super serious for this. Yeah, it's called the Invader King, actually.
Well, okay, but the same basic logic then.
Leader of the hive.
All right, so since I've already played a bit with the other new characters, let's finish this with what I like to consider the protagonist of this franchise.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, when it comes to the face of the franchise, it's almost always Marco that gets shown first in the covers. So. There you go. And yeah, basically, the king keeps destroying all the various platforms eventually. Don't worry, there's an infinite number of them. You don't actually, it's not like you die or get a game over if you allow it to take a while.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, jumping a bit down. It does remind me a bit of the Dungeons & Dragons beat-em-up game with that Capcom did, but one of the bosses is this giant Minotaur, where halfway through it literally breaks starts breaking the different floors, but you're really going down. Shit.
Yeah, that's basically it. No, but that's basically the thing, Shiroi. It really feels like the developers back in the 80s and especially in the 80s. A lot of times it felt like the developers made the game for themselves and didn't actually think about the people who were actually going to be playing this, after buying it, because they would just.
Especially since.
Go on.
Especially since a lot of these very specific things, most of the time, aren't even hinted at all.
No, that's the problem.
You just have to happen to find them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
There's even a couple of those kind of things in the early Crash games as well, but it's nowhere near as bad.
Yeah, final phase. I think if I recall correctly, you're just supposed to survive this.
That's why that's like a good example of a challenging platformer, for example, is Super Mario Galaxy 2, which compared to the easy first game, Mario Galaxy 2 went for a more challenging.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Let's just take this up.
Bye. We either survived justice to our skin or teeth.
Look at that 3D explosion, kind of.
So majestic. And Marco dies.
Oh. I was gonna say, sure.
So wait, the Martians are the main characters now, like.
The prisoners of Bobby's level.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned
Oh.
Crash Bandicoot, Shiori, since just as this game is Japanese. But the other Japanese version of that game was made to be a bit easier.
There we go. We got saved by Morden.
That's really strange considering, you know, the initial reason Lost Levels wasn't ported over to the US.
Hey, Theo.
What are you doing here?
Okay, bye.
I mean, the Papu fight was made a bit harder, but that was it.
And mission all over. Yeah, there's not a unlike with the first game, unlike with the previous games, the ending of this game is kind of lame. There's not really much of anything. There's not even anything in the credits, as you're about to see. Yeah, they kind of skimped out on actually making an ending for this one. There you go. See the the credits. The credits is just this, just the credits with two metal slugs in the background. That's it. Remember, in previous games, usually we would have some stuff going on during the credits that explains where the characters are now, especially Morden. But in here, no. It's like they just kind of, well, that's it, done. We're done. Like, I don't know. Stick around, everybody, because we're not quite done yet. Because before we move on to Double X next time, I figured I would showcase a little bit of the anthology, because there are some cool stuff in the anthology to show. So that's that. But either way, that was Metal Slug 6. Dwebs, what do you think of this one?
Again, to me, it just comes off more like the other games, just more. A lot more fluid because this was made around 2005. You said?
No, actually. Well, yeah, 2006. Yeah, go on.
2006. Yeah. I'm glad that because I mean, a lot of franchises at this point were just dropping right and going full 3D, which some worked out fine doing that, others haven't. And
there was a Metal Slug 3D waves, but I forgot actually. I think it was released around the same time as well. Yes. June 29, 2006 for the PS2.
As you can probably guess, it didn't catch on.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not much more I can say, to be honest. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Like again, the people at SNK, when it comes to Metal Slug, they know that this formula ain't broken. Why the hell should we fix it? So it really is one of those cases where they just keep the formula straight because nobody is really asking for changes anyway, so why bother? Okay, that's basically it. Shiroi, anything else that you want to add to?
Aside from the couple of things that I won't repeat again because we literally just complained about that stuff, like this was fun. Like the music is very hype. It's
always the case in these games, yeah.
I mean, some
SEGA.
Yeah. Yeah, everything looks really good. Like, it's just like, it looks like a fun time, much like the other ones, and yeah, that's it.
Alright, but before game over, yeah, like I said, we kind of forgot to add an ending to this game. Sorry about that. But before we go, everybody, and before we move on to Teo and mine's final thoughts, let's take a look at the PS2 Metal Slug Anthology, which is available on the PS4 if you want to get that. So yeah, you can still play Metal Slug 6 via the Anthology on your PS4. So if you do have a PS4, you can play 6 by buying Metal Slug Anthology, which is fine because it's a great collection. So there you go. Here's the opening intro. I really like this opening movie.
I played also this version in a friend's house back in the day. It was a blast. We did a speedrun through all the games in there in one night. It was amazing.
I mean, they're short, so...
Yeah, and Theo's looking really cute in that particular drawing.
With a punching glove in the backpack, I don't remember him having that special move.
And there's Eddie.
Yeah, the characters from 4, which nobody cares about.
Nadia and Trevor. And here are the ones we just went through.
The Ikari Warriors.
Yeah, this anthology collection was made to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the series.
Yeah. It was released instead of Metal Slug 3D, which was released only in Japan, even though it has mostly text and voice acting in English.
Alright, so like I said, this collection has all the 6 Metal Slug games that were made at that point. Let's take a look at the art gallery, because it also has an art gallery with some artwork. Here's Eddie.
I see.
Catgirl outfit, of course.
There's always one.
Oh, and she's also a fisherwoman.
Wishing that was fishy.
Happy New Year with Theo there as well. Happy New Year 2000. Yeah, and
what's wrong with your face?
chibi version, the chibi versions of the characters, but yeah, their faces are
like bubble heads.
Yeah.
The little Funko Pops.
All right.
God.
The rest of the art gallery is mostly just concept art for the backgrounds and stuff like that. There you can see. There you go.
Pretty cool. Again, a testament to the fact of the sprite quality, the fact they managed to turn all of these artwork into almost one-to-one stuff out of it. Usually when it comes to games, concept art, transition from concept art to the final product, unfortunately, has a lot of sacrifices onto it, but not necessarily this. Most of this stuff actually got properly into the game, even though not in the same form we expect, like the zombie artwork that you just saw.
Yeah. Again, my dream for Metal Slug 8 would be for them to take things to the next level and properly use HD sprites in the vein of something like Hollow Knight or dare I say it, Cuphead. Because imagine a Metal Slug game that looks just like Cuphead. That would be amazing. Hey, oh, look at that.
I don't remember this character.
Is it supposed to be Eri? Maybe not. No.
No, I think he's supposed to be a scrapped character.
Oh, okay.
Like a female genre for more than.
All right then. I mean, especially considering how Cuphead has a lot of, hectic and difficult bosses in it, so if anything, the Cuphead style would be perfect for Metal Slug.
I mean, if someone recalls, one of the earlier trailers also had the game showed the game had a HUD that resembled the one of Metal Slug, so it was clear that the developers did wanted to create similar product.
There you go, Marco and Tarma.
Yeah, it's also another thing. The artworks range a lot when it comes to the characters. Some are more straightforward, others are more gonk-esque.
You can definitely tell it's artwork from 90s anime because, yeah, it really definitely has that particular aesthetic of 90s anime. Oh, and Eri disguised as one of the prisoners? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of focus on Eri in this art. Oh, there you go. There's Theo. Yeah, why?
I guess it's because Eri is the proper, Japanese character, so I guess they rely on that.
I don't know. Why doesn't Theo get to have her own cat outfit as well? I mean,
she's Italian. I don't know.
Cat girl outfits for everyone.
I mean, yeah. Why are we? I mean, why does Eri get all the cool photos? Why does Theo get barely any?
Call him bias.
Yeah, clearly the people who made this collection clearly had some kind of thing for Eri, clearly, because Eri is the character that shows up the most in these photos. So...
And considering some of the photos themselves, we're probably not that far off from the truth.
Yeah. Alright, here are the actual soldiers by and this one is on his underpants, this one is underwater, and this one is... Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fireworks. The riot shield.
Stairs. Yeah, and this actually does look like a Western illustration, actually, that specific style. Skeleton versions.
Have you ever read... It's more notable in Europe, Pedro, but have you ever read the Stormtrooper Man?
I don't think I have, no.
It's a comic, it's an Italian comic about, believe it or not, a Blackadder-esque situation, similar to the last season, mind you, about, believe it or not, Nazis fighting in the trenches in World War II. It's mostly about comedic, about how incompetent they are. A lot of satire to put.
Indeed. Alright, so... Alright, so by this point... There's also special art. Which is basically more stuff from the Metal Slug themselves and other vehicles. Basically. Oh, there you go. Here's some stuff from 6. The helicopters. There you go. All that good stuff. Indeed.
Again, cool that they managed to transpose most of these into the actual games.
Indeed. Oh, look at that. Some awesome mech designs. That's cool. And that's about it. Aside from the gallery, the game also, the Metal Slug Project also has interviews from developers, but it's just text interviews, it's not actual videos. And
not very stimulating.
It would take a bit while to read those things, so I'm not gonna bother with those. That's about it. So Metal Slug 6 plus a little look at the anthology. Next time we'll do, of course, Metal Slug XX. But for now, Teo, give your thoughts, please.
Again, pretty much in line kind of with what I said in the previous games, is a continuous evolution in terms of art style, music, presentation, and gameplay. And again, thankfully, it's another step forward. I cannot stress enough how 4 was kind of a showstopper, but thankfully with 5 and now with 6, the franchise managed to get back on its feet and move forward. Sure, it still lacks an epilogue and everything, but it is still pretty cool. And even if it needs a bit of extra polish for stuff like, the drill segment, it's still a testament to how good also this game manages to be made, the balance between the actual sprite quality and the actual gameplay, running and gunning things. So, again, another good improvement, definitely solid to be, even if it needed just a bit more to be perfect. Go ahead, Pedro.
It's a perfectly solid entry. I don't think it's one of the best, though. I feel like Teo said, the new characters, Clark and Rolf, are fine, but they're not nothing amazing or anything. And the game's hard and easy mode thing is really bullcrap. That thing, like, if you're gonna do something like this, at least have the decency of telling us that the easy mode doesn't give you the whole thing. It's just like, basically I just wasted a bunch of my money only for the game to troll me at the end. Nope, you don't get your ending, dipshit. Sorry. We took your money. No. That being said, yeah, no, it's still a perfectly solid game. I don't care much for the 3D backgrounds. I mean, they don't look bad necessarily. It's just that when you look at the still hand-drawn sprites, there is a bit of a dissonance there. Like, it doesn't look quite as consistent in terms of visuals compared to the previous 5 games. Fortunately, XX went back to having everything be 2D, so this was only a one-time thing, so you don't have to worry about that. Aside from that, yeah, the game doesn't actually end, it just stops. Like, I don't know, like, it feels like the developers just kind of called it a day and, well, that's it, we're done. Okay.
This is, as far as I know, this is the only Metal Slug game that does it. So was it a decision by Sega to do this?
I doubt it. I mean, Sega at this point, in 2006, they were still being reasonably very successful with their stuff. You know, I mean, yeah, 2006 was a terrible year for Sonic and everything, but I feel like, I don't know, I'm not exactly seeing Sega telling SNK to do something like this. I feel like, okay, maybe, who knows, maybe the developers just didn't know what to do for an ending, so they just didn't do anything. I don't know, it is weird. Fortunately, Double X fixes that, so you can look forward to that. Yeah, it's solid, but yeah, not the series best. I mean, between this and 4, I mean, I'll give for one thing. At the least 4 has a proper ending, but 4 looks more consistent visually. I guess it's probably like I guess I'll say that they're about on the same level to me. Because the invaders are, as villains, are just kind of just serviceable. They're not particularly memorable. So yeah, it's fine for what it is, but definitely this much like 4, this is basically Metal Slug on autopilot. It feels like just another Metal Slug. It doesn't really have anything particularly unique and noteworthy about it to stand out from the others. It just feels like just another Metal Slug. But again, just another Metal Slug is still good. So, kudos to that. Alright, everybody. Tune in for Metal Slug Double X when we do that. See ya.